How about the Pac-12 championship game Friday night? It is a rematch, which is kind of cool that USC gets to avenge their only loss earlier in the season. They get to go ahead and try to beat Utah, who beat them in a crazy game on a 2-point conversion earlier in the season. Both these quarterbacks have had really good years. We're already all over. Is it Caleb Williams or Drake May, the number one overall pick next year? You and I have talked about that, Emory. But let's talk about USC. They're only laying 3 points, Emory. I
Which
mean, which tells you that I guess DraftKings doesn't really think USC is all that great if they're only laying 3 against Utah.
there's two games that we'll talk about. This one and another one where Vegas is kind of telling you like, hey man, we don't think this team can really win. And I think they're looking at this like this is not USC versus Utah. This is Kyle Whittingham versus Lincoln Riley. There's a lot of trust in Whittingham, and justifiably so. So when you look at this matchup, it's going to be okay. What are the adjustments, and what are we going to find differently that we didn't see before? And I feel like when you look at USC, you have to look at stars. And we talk about the reason why I want to do it this way is because we kind of talk about all these players all year. So, but I feel like in these championship games, they're going to need Jordan Addison to really step up and steal the show. I know it's all about Caleb Williams and the dazzling thing he does, but I feel like the biggest one in this game is the guy you sought after in free agency, so to speak, to bring him to Los Angeles for games like this. And this is a game where your biggest star has to show up. I mean, how often are able to talk about a reigning Bolitnikov winner in a college football game? Usually that guy wins it as a senior or a junior, and he's off to the races in the NFL. But this is a reigning Bolitnikov winner. I know he's been banged up a little bit this year, but they need him to be a significant difference maker in this game. I feel like that's the star to watch here in this rematch, which was, again, it was a wild game. We all stayed up late to watch that, how it was going to end. And even USC had a chance to really come back with like seconds left, but you saw like receivers drop passes or just they just couldn't get in sync on that last drive. So this is going to be a fascinating one to watch. And it could
Utah,
also,
USC. USC's laying 3. Emory, are you?
whew, Ross, this one is on Friday night, so it could start what could be a chaotic weekend if certain teams lose these conference championship games. Because now what the playoff committee is going to do. So 3 points. That's asking me to trust USC's defense. I think we'll see a game like we saw earlier in the year, a 1-point game. So I'm going to take Utah in the points here. But 3 is tough, but I'm going to still take Utah in the points. I feel like this line is going to change by the time we get to Friday. So if you can find it at 3, you better jump on it right now. But I would probably attack either Utah or take the under. I think we'll see a more conservative game from both teams.
I like USC. I can't imagine them losing twice to the same team. That's hard to do. I'll take USC laying the 3. LSU, Georgia on Saturday. SEC championship. Georgia's laying 17 big ones. I know you're taking LSU. I already know you're taking LSU in the 17.
Yeah, and the reason why, Ross, this was supposed to be like, I hate that they lost the game to Texas A&M because it takes a lot of the luster off this one. But I still feel like LSU, because of how, like, the things that A&M has, Georgia doesn't have, to be honest. Georgia, like, I'm a big Kenny McIntyre's guy, but Devin A-Chain is a difference maker, like in a different way. So they have some legit dogs, and LSU got dog walked up front. Now, Georgia can do the same things up front defensively. I worry about if watching those 2 tackles, those 2 freshman tackles for LSU. I think the right side is a little bit more stable than the left side. Will Campbell has to get stronger in the offseason. Ross, like, the bull rush is not his friend, And we know Georgia has nothing but guys up front that can bull rush with these. But the guy to watch is going to be freshman linebacker Harold Perkins, for LSU. He is the new Micah Parsons. He is someone that is a legit difference maker. You go back and ask, and it's funny that when other coaches give your guys props, Lane Kiffin came out and said the difference in the game was when 40 was out there, we couldn't get nothing done. And that's the key. He didn't play a lot against Florida State, which is probably why Jordan Travis had his success scrambling that day. And so I think in this game against a Stetson Bennett, a scrambler, that's going to be mission number one for LSU. That's why I think they keep this one close. I don't think they can win it because of the mismatch I think that's going to happen up front with their true freshman tackles and those guys that just that just are coming from a different planet for Georgia along that defensive line. Jalen Carter versus the interior offensive line of LSU and those heavy-handed, George Foreman punchers on the edge that they're going to put on those freshman tackles. Emory Jones is fine on the right side, but I worry about Will Campbell against Georgia. So I say this one being close because it's a big game, and this is the game LSU was looking forward to playing, and it could also cause chaos as well. So I'm going to take LSU in the points.
I would agree with that, by the way. I mean, after that A&M loss, I think they're going to bounce back. They kind of have nothing to lose now. Like, there's no pressure, and they're just going to go out, I think, and ball out. I like LSU getting the 17 as well. We make our way to the Big 12 championship game. How about this one, Emory? TCU K-State. TCU's only laying 2.5 in this one.
They are telling you, this is the game I was talking about earlier. They are telling you they don't trust TCU in this spot. So the reason why they don't trust TCU in this spot, because we all watched the first matchup. I think this is the game where everybody played for TCU at quarterback. Everybody just kept getting banged up, and TCU had a big lead. I'm sorry for Kansas State. Kansas State had a nice lead in this game, this first matchup, and then TCU clawed their way back and found their way to get a win. I think the way Will Howard is playing right now is insane. And it doesn't matter if it's Will Howard or Adrian Martinez. We may even see both in this ball game. Just off GP, just off general principle, because I think the way Kansas State plays, it feels like Kansas State should be in this spot more so than TCU. So not only do I like Will Howard and how he's been playing nuts the last 3 to 4 games, and it's just as a passer, they haven't even added the running aspect of what he can do. But they have Adrian Martinez, who I think you can probably see both. But you also have Deuce Vaughn. But I feel like Will Howard is a difference maker here that's going to have to make plays. On the other side, we talk about Quentin Johnson all year, and I feel like just like Addison, they're going to need him to be big against a very good defense. And so for me, can TCU get consistent stops against Kansas State? And can Kansas State make Max Duggan go to other targets outside of Quentin Johnson? So that's going to be the biggest key. But I actually like Kansas State straight up here. This is going to start the chaos. I like Kansas State to win outright against TCU.
Wow. I don't blame you. By the way, Will Howard is from Philly suburbs. It's so bizarre that he goes to K-State. Like, nobody from Philly suburbs goes to Kansas State. Like, how that even happened is beyond me.
And he's a prototype.
Way, I heard he wanted to go to Maryland, but Maryland had somebody else committed and they wouldn't offer him, which is wild.